Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're exploring a fascinating, kind of hidden world that literally shapes almost everything you interact with. Think about it. Every single revolutionary product around us, from that smartphone you're holding to the life-saving medicine in your cabinet, started out as this deeply fragile, completely theoretical idea. And for that idea to become reality, well, it had to survive a treacherous, incredibly complex journey. Right. Let's dive straight into this. Look at the stuff you use every single day. Your sustainable foods, your favorite tech apps, those new health supplements. How did they actually make it to the shelf? I mean, they didn't just magically teleport from some scientist whiteboard right into your shopping cart. There is a grueling marathon between a lab discovery and consumer reality. And honestly, understanding that marathon completely changes how you look at the world of innovation. You see, in the research world, they actually call this space the Valley of Death. Sounds intense, right? But it's true. It's this massive, unforgiving chasm where brilliant, raw academic discoveries just perish. Why? Because an amazing scientific breakthrough is definitely not the same thing as a viable commercial product. Without the exact right surrounding ecosystem to protect it, fund it, and guide it, a world-changing idea is just going to quietly die in the lab.
Okay, Chapter 1. The Birth of an Idea. Universities as the Engines of Innovation.
To really get where this journey begins, we kind of have to rethink universities entirely. They're not just about textbooks and lectures, they are the literal engines pumping out these raw, world-changing ideas. Check this out. A comprehensive UK study found exactly 784 academic spin-offs generated from 160 higher education institutions. So these aren't just schools, they are true business factories, churning out hundreds of commercial entities born directly from academic research. The secret sauce that makes all this happen is called technology transfer. Basically, you can think of it as the initial bridge out of the lab. It's a highly complex mechanism that captures foundational science, manages the intellectual property, and carefully points that raw idea out toward the real world. That way, it actually has a fighting chance at commercial survival. Which brings us to Chapter 2, Crossing the Innovation Chasm, Surviving the Ideation Execution Gap. Now, crossing this chasm is absolutely the hardest part of the journey. As researchers point out, quote, students struggle to translate concepts into validated prototypes due to technical gaps and business model uncertainty. Innovators just hit a massive wall here. They might know the science inside and out, but without dedicated spaces, like studio-based prototyping sandboxes, they really struggle to build a functional prototype. So the takeaway here is that systemic bottlenecks will absolutely kill an idea if there's no structure to support it. For instance, a deep dive study into Vietnam's startup ecosystem identified exactly these hurdles. We're talking a lack of clear IP management and this huge disconnect between the R&D researchers and the business mentors who actually know how to scale a startup. It's a tough gap to cross. Moving on to Chapter 3, the ecosystem support system, the bridge builders. To survive that scary valley of death, an idea needs a massive support network. Enter the mentors and bridge builders. There are frameworks out there, like the Six Helix model, that show us exactly how this works. You need academia, industry, government, the public, and environmental considerations all interlocking to literally drag an idea out of the mud and push it toward the market. And this commercialization journey follows some pretty exact chronological steps. It starts with your raw discovery. Then it moves into those prototyping sandboxes where it gets relentlessly tested. Then it receives capital and mentorship to fuel it up. And finally, fingers crossed, it crosses the finish line into the market. If you skip even one step, the idea usually fails. But hey, here's an absolutely fascinating nuance that researchers studying emerging economies discovered. We always kind of assume venture capital is the ultimate kingmaker, right? Well, it turns out VC funding doesn't always drive the creation of physical product innovations. For market-oriented physical products, having deep research capacity and solid physical infrastructure matters way more than just handing an innovator a blank check. All around the world, different regions are acting as their own unique bridge builders. In rural markets, science parks are pumping life into local economies. Over in Turkey, state enterprise support programs like COSGAB are creating massive entrepreneurial synergy. In Thailand, they're orchestrating these dedicated innovation-driven enterprise hubs. And honestly, globally, the pandemic forced small businesses to radically accelerate co-innovation just to stay afloat. All right, Chapter 4, From Lab to Real Life, the triumphs of the ecosystem. So what exactly happens when this ecosystem actually works? Well, we get some incredible,
tangible rewards. Researchers literally took spent coffee grounds, straight up waste, and turned them into sustainable fat replacers for food. They extracted cod collagen peptides that improve lifespan markers for pharma, and they even engineered advanced biomass-degrading enzymes for biofuel. This is what a fully functioning ecosystem delivers. Look at this number, $0.013 per ton, just over a penny. That is the remarkably low operational cost of a newly piloted sulfur-based water denitrification system. Because, it's one thing to invent a water purifier in a lab, it's another entirely to engineer it to run for pennies, proving it actually has true disruptive economic applicability. But remember, innovation isn't always just deep bioscience. Sometimes it's right in front of us. Take the ProCanteen digital system. This is a scalable digital pre-order system built completely within a university campus canteen ecosystem. It's such a beautiful example of how student-led businesses can use their own campus as a literal sandbox to perfectly validate a business model before trying to take it global. Which brings us to Chapter 5, the Global Innovation Race, Mapping the Worldwide Ecosystem. See, building these ecosystems is now a fiercely competitive global race. Take the agritech sector, for example. Researchers are actively mapping how different countries tackle this race. In India, they're analyzing digital startup funding and product focus. Meanwhile, in Japan, they track innovation heavily through very specific patent analytics. Different strategies for sure, but the exact same goal. And to keep these global engines running smoothly, researchers are urging governments and universities to adopt some specific strategies, like in Brazil, where they're deploying strategic capacity-building roadmaps. But worldwide, the consensus is clear. We need tighter academic industry partnerships so students get real mentors, we need heavier investments in digital transformation, and we need university leadership that's directly aligned with regional economic goals. Finally, Chapter 6, the power of the connected ecosystem. Final thoughts. Let's bring this all back to you and me for a second. The technology we're going to rely on tomorrow, whether that's for clean energy, medical breakthroughs, or just sustainable food, is currently a fragile little idea sitting on a lab bench somewhere. The future quality of our everyday lives depends entirely on these localized ecosystems successfully holding hands and pulling those ideas across the chasm. I really love this quote because it anchors the absolute truth of the matter. Universities are not just places of learning anymore. When you pair them with innovation hubs, they become the true, pulsing catalysts for broad socioeconomic growth. They take abstract math and science and literally translate it into jobs, physical products, and real national development. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. The next time you walk past a university or a research park, look at those windows and just wonder, what world-changing idea is stuck in a lab, right there, right now, just waiting for the exact right ecosystem to finally bring it to life? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, stay curious.